Chapter 10, Real Numbers. In order to understand what real numbers are, we're going to start by defining some of the things that make up real numbers. So we start with natural numbers, and natural numbers are also counting numbers. And when you count 1, 2, 3, and so on. And that is what a natural number is the counting numbers. 1, 2, 3, and so on. We don't count 1/2, 2/3, 1/16, or anything like that, do we? We count always in wholes, 1, 2, 3, and so on. All right, then further, the next division we want to talk about is whole numbers. And whole numbers are like the counting numbers, but in this case, we include 0. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Those are whole numbers. Whole numbers are all positive. They're greater than 0, and they're whole. They're not fractions or parts. So the next division we have are integers. And integers are positive and negative numbers. So now we include the negative numbers. And we have going on for as far as we want towards negative infinity. But we start -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So they're all wholes. We don't have any fractions here to the right. All right, rational numbers are an expression where we write a rational number as the ratio of two integers. So a rational number is the ratio of two integers. So we just saw that integers are positive and negatives. They're wholes, ratio of two integers. And it could be positive or it could be negative. So any number that we can write as a ratio of two integers is a rational number. 2/3, that is a rational number. We could have negative 2/3. That's still a rational number because -2 is an integer. And what about the number 8? Could we write 8 as the ratio of two integers? Of course, any whole number can be written as a ratio over 1. That would be the representing a whole number as the ratio of two integers. And something, so we know that 2/3 as a decimal is 0.6 repeating. And so any repeating decimal, any whole number, or any terminating decimal can be written as a ratio of two integers. Rational numbers are the ratio of two integers. Irrational numbers then would be not rational numbers. That's what the ir means. Not rational numbers. So they cannot be written as the ratio of two integers. This is any non-repeating decimal Some examples of that are the square root of 2. Any square root that's not a perfect square, any square root of not a perfect square is irrational number. This comes out to be 1.41 and so on. It doesn't repeat. Another one would be pi, which we know is 3.1415 and so on. And those are irrational numbers. They cannot be written as the ratio of two integers. All right, now real numbers. Real numbers are all of the above. All of the above are real numbers. So all rational numbers, all irrational numbers, whole numbers, natural numbers, counting numbers, whole numbers, integers, rational numbers, and irrational numbers are all real numbers. Anything that is a real number can be placed on a real number line. Natural numbers, whole numbers, and integers are all rational numbers. and irrational numbers together. Rational numbers and irrational numbers make up the real numbers. And we can see the real number line here. So anything that could be depicted on a number line, and this goes off positively into infinity and negatively into infinity, anything that you can put on there is a real number. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about real numbers. Absolute value is the distance a number from a number is from 0 on a number line. Distance from 0 on a number line. Distance is always positive, so absolute value is always positive. We denote absolute value with straight up and down lines. That is the way we denote absolute value. Opposites are two numbers that lie on opposite sides of the 0 on the number line. So two numbers that are the same distance from 0 but on opposite sides. But on opposite sides of 0. The opposite of 2 is negative 2. 2 and negative 2 are opposites. Sometimes we call these 0 pairs. And 0 pairs are opposites that add to be 0. So negative 2 plus 2 is 0. That is a 0 pair, or opposites. The opposite then of negative 2 is 2. And sometimes we write this, or we write this as this. Opposite of negative 2 is 2. That's how we write it as an equation. The negative out here means the opposite of negative 2 is 2. Or the opposite of 2 is negative 2. That's another way to write it. Positive numbers lie to the right of 0 on the number line. Or another way to say that is that they're greater than 0. Negative numbers lie to the left of 0. On the number line, and they're less than 0. Okay, so looking at absolute value, again, the symbol of absolute value is the straight up and down lines. And so we have the absolute value. So let's find the absolute value of negative 10. Well, we can find negative 10 on the number line. It's right here. But the absolute value is the distance to 0. So the distance here is positive 10 units. That is the absolute value of negative 10 equals 10. And we can see that distance is always a positive number, so no matter where we are or how far we're going here, if we wanted the absolute value of negative 20, that still would be 20 units from 0, and positive 20 is also 20 units from 0, and so our absolute value is always positive. Positive numbers are all the numbers that lie to the right of 0 here. These are positives. and to the left are all negatives. These are the negatives. All right, in opposite or zero pairs, we look, and the opposite of negative 15. So as we said, that's how we write opposite of negative 15. When we look on the number line, the opposite of negative 15, this one has an absolute value of 15. The opposite of that would have the same absolute value. So negative 15 and 15 are opposites. They're on opposite side of the zero with the same distance. So the distance there, or the absolute value of negative 15 is 15, and the distance or the absolute value of 15 is 15. We write it like this: the opposite of negative 15 is 15. Another one, we could say, what is the opposite of 7? The opposite of 7 is, and we can see here, this one is 7, and so 7 this side would be, I didn't quite get there, did I? Would be negative 7. So the opposite of 7 is negative 7, and we can see that negative 7, well, here, let's start. Negative 15 plus 15 equals 0. Those are zero pairs. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0. There is another zero pair. So that is